a real trip until something goes wrong.
In over 10 years of travel, we obviously had our fair share of issues and misadventures. Many times that was due to unforeseen weather conditions, but in other cases were to various hiccups.
One of the most difficult moments in Mongolia was driving. The problem started when it started to rain.
The day after was even worse because we got stuck for around 4 hours in the snow.
We tried, we pushed, we pulled, we did everything, and after 4 hours we were completely exhausted and we were about to abandon. When we saw some other cars just driving by like a sort of, I wouldn't call a road, but at least a path that was a little bit more manageable.
Unforgettable situation, I would say, when at midnight during very strong rainy time we had to cross a river.
So for some reason we ended up having snow in August because the year after we were in Ecuador and we decided to climb the Cotopaxi, and yeah, there was snow there.
To be fair, often we went looking for trouble, because at the end of the day we always want adventure to be part of our trips.
We can also talk about our experience in Montenegro when we went in 2009. The idea was to go for a day of rafting. It was May, so it was a fantastic period of the year because after winter the river was bringing down a lot of water. So we decided that it was the right opportunity to compress in one day what normally is done in 3 stages. The result was 8 hours on the boat, very cold. Everyone was at the end completely exhausted. An uncomfortable and tiring experience which messed up all the plan for the day and the following one.
One of the things that we will remember from our Jordan trip is definitely when it started to rain in the desert, which is quite unusual, and then we found ourselves trapped in a wadi with some serious panic scenes that we will remember.
We started to cross the canyon and it was already raining, but at some point it started really pouring. And at some point someone in front of us, which was Yoon, freaked out and she started to scream, "Run, run! The water, water!" And we literally had to run for our lives through the canyon. At some point became river, and then they became bigger and bigger. It was really much more difficult to cross them, so at some point we didn't know what to do, and we decided to go back, hoping that a car that was supposed to wait in front of the canyon was actually coming back and picking us up, which is what luckily happened.
The most adventurous trip was definitely our first trip together in 2008, when we traveled through 1,000 kilometers in the southeast of India, throughout Tamil Nadu, driving a tuk-tuk.
So driving a tuk-tuk in India, it's an experience. You drive through cows, goats, trucks. The roads are in really bad conditions. For example, once we were driving on a road and there was this huge hole, so we were going quite fast. We drove into it and we broke the whole front wheel. It was quite scary, actually.
With the tuk-tuk we were driving about 8 to 10 hours per day, covering like a distance about under 50, 100 kilometers, no more than that. And the tuk-tuk was reaching a speed of 70 kilometers per hour, especially downhill. But the issue was that the tuk-tuk was breaking down multiple times a day. Sometimes it was the clutch, sometimes it was the exhauster, sometimes it was just a flat tire.
Eccoci qua, in panne.
Panne, strada sbagliata, abbiamo perso il filtro dell'aria, andato. Stiamo aspettando i meccanici.
Hanno detto un quarto d'ora, che saranno 50 minuti.
Siamo sulla strada sbagliata, per cui nessuno passerà più.
And every time we had to stop and ask the locals for help in the middle of the Indian countryside. Where there is no joke is in the mountains. You cannot joke, you cannot underestimate the difficulties when you go in the mountains, especially when we go in the Dolomites doing the Via Ferrata.
Another lesson, very important, that we learned is risk management. Don't take too much risk when it's not worth it. So particularly important when you are in hostile environment, like in the mountains. When with Guglielmo and friends we're going up to the Dolomites on the Via Ferrata, and your target is to reach the summit of that mountain. Sometimes it's not possible, and you shouldn't force yourself just to get there at all costs. Last trip we did, we were half an hour away from the summit, and bad weather started to come in. Visibility was really bad. We didn't feel it was the right thing to do, and we made the right decision to go down.
One of the scariest moments I remember was during our trip in Colombia, when we decided to reach Panama aboard a very tiny, skanky wooden boat.
You basically are on these very tall waves, these tiny little boats taking people back and forth, and it's just crazy. An experience that probably I will not repeat again.
So we left Turbo to go to Capurganá, and it wasn't a very pleasant experience because we were on this kind of like speedboat. The waves were quite high and the boat was doing this.
I think that those boats we took in Colombia I would not take anymore, and I would not recommend anyone taking. We really risked our lives.
Bottom line are the misadventure, which make the travel memorable.
day, what we are going to remember in 30 years' time, it won't be the couple of days spent on the beach, but rather the adventurous bits and the inconveniences and everything unexpected that happened.
In the next episode, we're going to talk about food and what we eat during our travels.